Welcome to Cyber Espresso. I welcome today's guest, Adrian Beyers, Data and AI Security Lead, and Dorrit, Sliepen, Cybersecurity Senior Manager. Uh, Dorrit, Adrian, welcome to our podcast.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you so much. It's nice being here. Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate your availability. I will start with this very important question about the human risk. The human factor is often described as the weakest link in cybersecurity, and almost all cyber attacks that succeed do so because of human error. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, so I think we could reframe it a little bit, right? In not saying that human is the weakest link per se, but rather to say that they are the most targeted with cyber attacks, right? So it's a little bit of that balance between that, and there's a lot of attacks coming up against people specifically, and specifically with AI, of course, right? That just increased tremendously much around it. And the main thing there is also that, training itself will not just solve that. It's not just training that will resolve that. It's a whole security culture that needs to be embedded in all our people throughout any organization, throughout all levels of that organization.
That's correct. Yeah. So, as we live in the digital era, a lot of organizations accelerate to use this new technology and embracing cloud or ecosystem partnership. So things change very fast. So in that token, where does AI fit into enterprise security architecture?
Yeah, that is a good question. And indeed, the fast-paced changes that we see with the rise of AI and agentic AI, these are really prime examples of why it's really important that your enterprise security architecture is not just a paper exercise. It's important to tailor your enterprise security architecture to be future-proof. And adapt the process along the way to really accelerate business outcomes. And this is a continuous, ongoing task. AI brings new systems, new ways of thinking, and therefore new ways of architecture, and therefore should be considered and applied throughout it all.
Yeah. So if it's a moving target, kind of where we are now, especially with AI, of course it brings benefits and some challenges, but how are you gonna have your security architecture future-proof? Because if you don't know the future.
Yeah, so I think from that perspective, right, it's the way that you architecture it. So once you apply the right methodology of doing architecture, that in itself says that you cannot have one standard set that is always the same and always applicable. You need to revisit it as things change, as the landscape change, as environments is and our world changes, right? As Gen AI changes consistently and all the time, right? So also our approach needs to change to that as well. And we have to revisit that. We cannot just think because 10 years ago we did it this way, that tomorrow it has to be the same way. So we have to adapt and have that culture of rapidly assessing, rapidly changing with that. And that is the thing that makes us future proof, right? It's not something that we can put in today that will be effective for eternity. It is
Yeah,
our ability to adjust and move with it and be agile with it.
I like that. I like that. So it's an ongoing journey. So
Yeah,
basically,
exactly. Yeah,
and
exactly.
learning as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
So my last question is on the big bubbly topic of compliance. So many companies they need to be compliant because they need to be, but some leaders they see it as an opportunity. But from your perspective and based on your experience, is being compliant is enough, or like what does really transaction into? What does it really mean for companies?
Yeah. Thanks. And that is actually quite a important one for many organizations, right? Because a lot of organizations they really just chase the green boxes, right? Making sure that the boxes are checked. I'm this compliant. I'm that compliant. I follow this regulation. I follow that one, right? And I think it's important. My perspective, at least, is that compliance even if the green box is there, does not equal security. Because if you just chase the green box and the check mark from that perspective of, hey, I only want my compliance certificate, or I just want to move forward on this regulation, yeah, sometimes you can take a lot of shortcuts and you actually miss the point of why that control is there in the first place. What is the reason behind that? And that is, for me, also where the enterprise security architecture that we just spoke of is so super important, because that is the one thing that ties the business value. What is the real outcome of the business that we are chasing for? Because you don't just put security for the sake of security. You can have too much security, right? You can have that. So you really have to make sure, what is the business purpose of this? What is the outcome that the business wants? Then you look at what is the right level of security for that. And then the compliance part should actually already be filled with that, right? It's just a validation of making transparent that this is actually all in order. It's actually all okay. But you have to take it from the perspective of what is the real intent initially done with that control. Why is it part of our regulation? Why is it part of our compliance checkmarks?
Yeah, so that is very true. So compliance like a checklist, but you also kind of address it's a timestamp. So like the approach should be like, once the controls are there with a purpose, but you need to monitor it. You need to ensure that their initial design is really fulfilling the need.
Yeah, exactly right. I love that, because that's, for me at least, one of the big things about proper, really good architecture, right? When we look at that from a security perspective, is it's what is needed, when is it needed. It is the both of those, right? That you have to bring into balance, is for this specific part of my business, or this outcome, or this thing that I drive, what is it that I need to secure it, and when do I need that? And then, of course, follows all the rest of this, the monitoring of it, making sure that we can follow up the processes. And that's what the architecture covers, right? It's the people, process, and technology. It's all the areas of that it covers.
Perfect. All good. So, Adrian, Dorrit, I really appreciate your time and sharing your insights. I look forward to talking to you other occasions, but thanks for being part of our podcast.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Murat, for having us. Awesome.
Okay, take care. Ciao.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.